Hello students of High Magick, welcome to this final episode on the self-initiation of the Neophyte into the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. In this episode we will present the examination for the Neophyte, aiming to help you become familiar with the material and properly advance to the Zelator grade. As you may know, the knowledge lectures provided in earlier episodes are not to be dismissed as dry intellectual material. They form the essential foundation of Hermetic science and magical practice. Just as a surgeon cannot be expected to perform an operation without first mastering the principles of medicine, so too must the magician commit to memory the fundamentals of the Hermetic tradition to perform effective rituals. In authentic Golden Dawn temples, initiates must pass examinations before advancing to the next grade. In keeping with that tradition, we provide quizzes and assessments based on the knowledge lectures and supplementary teachings. These allow students to evaluate their understanding at their own pace. Each grade is also accompanied by ritual and meditative work, offering tools for deeper personal transformation. The path begins with the grade of Neophyte, 0 equals 0. Students following the route of self-initiation are encouraged to first study the material associated with the grade they are about to enter. Once the core concepts have been internalized, the self-initiation ritual may be undertaken. This ritual may be performed multiple times. Each repetition improves proficiency, and proficiency is what ultimately determines the effectiveness of the initiation. Afterward, the knowledge lectures must be committed to memory. Time must be spent in each grade, not only to absorb the written teachings, but also to integrate the initiatory experience. This is particularly important for solitary students who may lack the guidance of a temple or group, and thus risk rushing through the material too quickly. Progress in this work is not measured by speed, but by the depth of assimilation and personal development. To support this process, we recommend that solitary students spend approximately 4 months in a probationary period before attempting the Neophyte initiation. During this time, the student should focus on preparatory meditations and foundational exercises. Following initiation, the student should remain in the grade of Neophyte for at least 6 months. During this period, the student should also work on establishing a personal connection with the god form of Ta-Meh. One useful technique is to pre-record longer ritual speeches and guided visualizations for playback during rituals. Hearing your own voice speak sacred words can have a profound initiatory impact. For students already working within a Golden Dawn temple, the self-initiatory rituals and materials provided here may serve to strengthen one's ritual skills, deepen understanding, and reinforce existing grade work. The knowledge lectures and meditations are valuable resources for students at all levels of experience. Those who persevere with dedication and sincerity through this course of study and ritual practice will lay the groundwork for true initiation into the Golden Dawn tradition of magic. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn does not formally publish passing scores for the Neophyte examinations. However, both historical practice and modern guidance suggest that a very high standard is expected. Typically 90% to 100% correct answers on written exams. Some students believe that Sheikh Cicero advised aiming for a score of 92% to pass each exam. In group temple settings, advancement is usually determined by the pre-monstrata or exam officer based on a student's demonstrated knowledge and competence. While exact scores may not be disclosed, the expectation is clear. Initiates must possess near-perfect mastery of foundational material. This aligns with the Order's philosophy that true magical progress is based on disciplined study and the demonstrable understanding of names, symbols, correspondences, the lesser ritual of the pentagram, the middle pillar, and related practices. Now, let's look at the examination questions and answers. Which officer carries the sword of judgment?
The Hieras.
What implement is carried by the Daduhos?
The censer of incense.
Which officer is the expounder of the mysteries?
The hierophadis.
How many times is the candidate purified and consecrated?
4.
What does the lamp of the Kyrix symbolize?
The hidden knowledge.
What does Conx Om Pax mean?
Light in extension.
What symbols are upon the altar?
The cross and triangle. A rose, cup of wine, red lamp, bread and salt.
What does the hoodwink symbolize?
The darkness, ignorance, and mortality which has blinded humanity.
What does the black cord symbolize?
The threefold bondage of mortality, material inclination, which has bound humanity.
Why is the altar a double cube?
The altar is an emblem of visible nature which reflects the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below.
What does the mystic circumambulation signify?
The rise of light.
Which officer watches over the gateway of the hidden knowledge?
The hegemon.
Who is the guardian of the cauldron and the well of water?
The stoneless days.
What does the first or saluting sign refer to?
The candidate's condition in a state of darkness, groping for light.
What do the two pillars represent?
The two great opposing forces of light and dark.
The seed of is sown in silence and grows in darkness and mystery.
Wisdom.
By and are all powers awakened and reawakened.
Names. Images.
Who is Hur Pakrat?
The Egyptian god of silence.
What does the wand of the Kyrix symbolize?
The directing power of the hidden knowledge.
What does the grip of the neophyte refer to?
Seeking guidance in darkness.
Which officer is the herald?
The Kerix.
Which officer is called Darkness, and the great one of the path of the shades?
The Hieres.
Which officer is referred to as light dawning in darkness?
The Hierophadis.
List the four elements and draw their symbols.
Fire, water, air, earth.
What is the element of heat and moisture?
Air.
What is the element of cold and dryness?
Earth.
What is the element of heat and dryness?
Fire.
What is the element of cold and moisture?
Water.
What is the English name for the element ignis?
Fire.
What is the English name for the element hu-ah?
Air.
Which element signifies the human intellect?
Air.
Which element signifies the unconscious?
Water.
List the 12 signs of the zodiac and draw their symbols.
Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces.
What is the sign of mutable earth?
Virgo.
What is meant by the term triplicity?
Zodiacal signs which are grouped by element.
What is meant by the term triplicity?
Zodiacal signs which are grouped by element.
A quadruplicity of signs is grouped by
Quality.
list the signs of the air triplicity.
Libra, Aquarius, Gemini.
List the signs of the earth triplicity.
Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo.
What signs rule the change of seasons?
Cardinal signs.
List the cherubic signs.
Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus.
What signs are also called common signs?
The mutable signs.
What signs are also called fixed signs?
The cherubic signs.
Name the sign whose keyword is practicality.
Virgo.
Name the sign whose keyword is versatility.
Gemini.
Name the sign whose keyword is activity.
Aries.
What is the sign of cardinal air? Libra. What is the sign of mutable fire?
Sagittarius.
What sign is dramatic, self-confident, and romantic?
Leo.
What sign is nurturing, maternal, and sensitive?
Cancer.
What sign is intense, resourceful, passionate, and aware?
Scorpio.
What sign is introspective, charitable, intuitive, and artistic?
Pisces.
What is the sign of cardinal earth?
Capricorn.
What sign is philosophical, open-minded, and straightforward?
Sagittarius.
List the 7 ancient planets and draw their sigils.
Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sol, Venus, Mercury, Luna.
What is the planet of emotions?
Venus.
What is the planet of expansion?
Jupiter.
What planet is known as the Lesser Malefic?
Mars.
What planet is known as the Greater Benefic?
Jupiter.
What planet's action is energizing and stimulating?
Sol.
What planet is known as the Teacher?
Saturn.
Give the appropriate sign for Venus's exaltation.
Pisces.
Luna's detriment.
Capricorn.
Mars's dignity.
Aries, Scorpio.
Sol's exaltation.
Aries.
Jupiter's fall.
Capricorn.
Saturn's dignity.
Capricorn, Aquarius.
Mercury's detriment.
Sagittarius, Pisces.
Luna's exaltation.
Taurus.
Venus's dignity.
Taurus, Libra.
Uranus's detriment.
Leo.
Neptune's dignity.
Pisces.
Pluto's detriment.
Taurus.
What is the planet of organization and discipline?
Saturn.
List the 3 new planets and draw their symbols.
Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
What is the head of the dragon?
Caput Draconis, the north lunar node.
What is the planet of transformation?
Pluto.
What planet is known as the Awakener?
Uranus.
What is the planet of drug addiction and sleepwalking?
Neptune.
What is the planet of the inner self?
Sol.
Name the planet whose action is sudden, forceful, and disruptive.
Mars.
What is the tail of the dragon?
Coda Draconis, the south lunar node.
What planet represents the primary feminine principle?
Luna.
What planet represents the primary masculine principle?
Sol.
Which element is called Edor in Greek?
Water.
Which element was seen by the alchemists as that which operates at the center of all things?
Fire.
What is the English name for the element Ma'im?
Water.
What is the English name for the element Ehetz?
Earth.
Which element signifies materialization?
Earth.
Which element is the son of fire and water?
Air.
What is the sign of cherubic air?
Aquarius.
List the signs of the water triplicity.
Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces.
List some of the characteristics of the mutable signs.
Adaptable, versatile, changeable, subtle, intuitive, understanding.
List some of the characteristics of the cherubic signs.
Stable, determined, persevering, accumulative, able to concentrate.
List some of the characteristics of the cardinal signs.
Active, fervent, independent, enthusiastic, ambitious, initiating.
Which planet rules the sign of Virgo?
Mercury.
Which planet rules the sign of Libra?
Venus.
Which planet rules the sign of Taurus?
Venus.
What is the planet of affection?
Venus.
What is the planet of competition?
Mars.
Which planet rules Frigg's Day?
Venus.
Which planet rules Woden's Day?
Mercury.
Which planet rules Teal's Day?
Mars.
What does the word Kabbalah mean?
Tradition.
The Kabbalah is usually classified under 4 heads. What are they?
Dogmatic, practical, literal, unwritten.
List the 10 Sefirot and give their English translations. Also, write out the names of the Sefirot in Hebrew.
Keter, Hachama, Bina, Hesed, Gevucha, Tiferet, Netzer, Hod, Yesod, Malhut.
Which Sephira is represented by the line, the phallus, and the yod?
Hahama.
Which Sephira is also called Gedula?
Hesed.
Which is the mediating Sephira?
Tiferet.
Name the Sephira, whose symbols are the names of power and the apron.
Hod.
Name the Sephira, whose physical representation is the zodiac.
Hahama.
Name the Sephira of the first motion.
Keter.
Name the Sephira which represents the left brain and the individual mind.
Hod.
Name the Sephira which represents the right brain and the group mind.
Netza.
Name the Sephira whose keyword is energy.
Gevuha.
Name the Sephira of the astral light.
Yesod.
Name the Sephira whose physical representation is soul.
Tiferet.
Name the Sephira of completion and stability.
Malhut.
Name the Sephira whose symbols are the Calvary cross and the cube.
Tiferet.
Which Sephira is also called Pahad?
Gevuha.
Name the Sephira whose physical representation is Luna.
Yesod.
Name the Sephira whose symbol is the point.
Keter.
Name the Sephira whose physical representation is the sphere of Saturn.
Bina.
Name the Sefirot on the pillar of severity.
Bina. Gevuha. Hod.
Name the Sefirot on the pillar of mildness.
Keter. Tiferet. Yesod. Malhut.
Name the Sefirot on the pillar of mercy.
Hahama. Hesed. Netza.
The dogmatic Kabbalah involves the study of the Tohar. What is another name for the Tohar?
The Pentateuch.
Which two Hebrew letters have the power of T?
Tet and Tav.
Which two Hebrew letters have the power of S?
Sameh, Shin.
Which Hebrew letter means enclosure?
Het.
Which Hebrew letter means back of the head?
Kuf.
Which Hebrew letter means house?
Bet.
Name and draw the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, along with their English equivalents, powers. Also list their numeral values and literal meanings. Include the final letters.
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Het. Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod. Kef, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Sameh. Ayin, Pet, Sadi, Kuf. Hesh, Shin, Tav.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of High Magic Practices. If you are a neophyte student, we encourage you to review all previous episodes in order. Each one builds a foundation for the next. If you encounter topics that are unfamiliar or unclear, take some time to research them further. Additional reading or even writing about these subjects can help solidify your understanding and make the knowledge easier to recall when you need it. We appreciate your dedication and persistence on this path. Your commitment to study and practice is what sets you apart as a true seeker. If you found this episode helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with friends who are interested in the Golden Dawn tradition. Your support helps us reach more aspiring magicians. Don't miss our next episode, where we will explore a different tradition, Solomonic magic. In future episodes, we'll provide practical instructions on spirit summoning, divination, astrology, charms, and the magical use of herbs. This will prepare you for deeper work and broaden your magical toolkit. Thank you for sticking with us, and see you next time on High Magic Practices.